Stop. Before you scroll past this video, I need you to think about something for 5 seconds. What if the most dangerous driver in NASCAR right now is an American? What if the guy who is quietly, methodically, race by race, dismantling everything the sport thought it knew about international talent, is about to become the biggest political crisis NASCAR has ever seen? And what if the most powerful team in NASCAR history is already watching him, already studying him, already making phone calls that nobody is supposed to know about? That's not a theory. That's not clickbait. That is what is happening right now inside the NASCAR garage. And by the time this video is over, you're going to understand exactly why every team owner, every sponsor, every Chevrolet executive, and every Cup veteran is quietly, desperately watching Shane van Gisbergen. Stay with me, because this story starts with a moment that broke the garage. But before we get into it, and I promise you, what's coming next is going to change how you see this entire NASCAR season. I want to talk to you directly for just a second. This channel, NASCAR Report Today, exists because I believe NASCAR fans deserve more than surface-level coverage. You deserve the stories that the mainstream won't touch. The real conversations happening in the garage. The political moves nobody is announcing yet. The moments that change this sport forever before the press release ever comes out. If you've been watching quietly, this is the moment. Hit subscribe right now. Hit the notification bell. Because the stories we're about to cover this season, you do not want to miss a single one. Now, let's go back to Watkins Glen, because that's where everything changed. Picture the scene. It's race day at Watkins Glen. The Cup Series elite are on the grid. Experienced veterans, championship winners, drivers who have spent decades learning every inch of this track. And then there's Shane van Gisbergen. Now, if you're newer to NASCAR, here's what you need to understand about SVG before we go any further. This man did not come up through the traditional NASCAR system. He didn't spend his teenage years racing on dirt tracks in the American Midwest. He didn't climb through late models and Xfinity Series grinding for a Cup ride. Shane van Gisbergen is from New Zealand. He became a legend in supercars racing in Australia. He was already a champion, already a finished product, already elite in his discipline, before NASCAR even entered the conversation. When Trackhouse Racing brought him over through their Project 91 program, the reaction inside the NASCAR establishment was polite disinterest. Road course novelty, they said. International experiment, they called it. He'll have his moment, and then we'll never hear about it again. The comfort zone was clear. The plan was simple. SVG would win maybe one road course, generate some global press for the sport, and eventually fade away when the realities of NASCAR's oval-heavy schedule exposed him. That was the story everybody had already written. Then Chicago 2023 happened, and nobody was ready for it. Shane van Gisbergen's NASCAR Cup Series debut. Chicago Street Course. His very first start. He won. Not just won. He dominated. He made the entire Cup field look like they were learning the track while he was already at home on it. The silence in the garage after that race was different from the usual post-race noise. It wasn't the silence of confusion. It was the silence of people recalibrating, of veterans staring at laptops, of crew chiefs rewatching data, of team owners sitting in their haulers a little longer than you. NASCAR itself had to acknowledge it. Shane van Gisbergen had just redefined what was possible for an international driver in the Cup Series in his very first start. But here's the thing that most people missed in the celebration of that historic moment. The garage narrative didn't collapse immediately. They gave it time. They told themselves it was Chicago. Street course. Unusual conditions. Everybody has a good day somewhere. The safe explanation survived a little longer. What they didn't expect was what happened next. SVG didn't just win and disappear. He kept coming back. He kept improving. Race by race, the road course novelty story got harder to make. His full-time 2025 move to Trackhouse stopped looking like a marketing stunt and started looking like something far more serious. And then Watkins Glen 2026 happened. And that's where we need to slow down. Because Watkins Glen 2026 isn't just a race result. It's a turning point. And the garage felt it in real time. Here's what happened at Watkins Glen 2026. And I want you to picture every detail of this. SVG was behind. Not a small deficit. A real, significant, uncomfortable gap between him, the kind of deficit that veteran drivers use to justify managing tires, protecting position, thinking about points. Shane van Gisbergen didn't manage anything. He started hunting. Methodically, corner by corner, lap by lap, he carved through Elite Cup drivers like they were in his way by mistake. Drivers who have been doing this for 15, 20 years. Drivers who know Watkins Glen as well as they know their own driveway. They looked helpless. The comeback win. The deficit erased. The veterans made to look like they were racing someone on a completely different level. And in the garage, watching this unfold on the monitors, there was a journalist. Someone who had been covering this sport for 20 years. And as SVG crossed the finish line, this journalist leaned over to the person next to him and said 5 words. Hendrick is watching this closely. 5 words. And every single person in that garage who heard it or heard about it moments later felt the temperature change. Because in NASCAR, when someone says Hendrick Motorsports is watching your driver, that's not gossip. That's the beginning of a political earthquake. Let me tell you something about Hendrick Motorsports that casual fans sometimes underestimate. This isn't just a successful race team. This is NASCAR's empire. Rick Hendrick built the most decorated, most resourced, most politically connected organization the sport has ever seen. Multiple championships, legendary drivers, a relationship with Chevrolet that goes deeper than any contract. When Hendrick moves in NASCAR, the entire ecosystem moves with. So when the whisper starts, Hendrick is watching SVG. It doesn't stay a whisper for long. Now, nothing official has been confirmed. Nobody is making an announcement. Bob Pockrass, one of the most credible voices covering this sport, confirmed exactly that. Nothing official involving SVG and Hendrick. Those were his words. But here's what makes this story bigger than a simple transfer rumor. Kyle Petty, someone who understands this sport at a level most people never reach, said something that needs to sit with you. Hendrick rumors happen for one reason only. People think a driver is special. SVG has earned that respect. Read that again slowly. Hendrick rumors don't happen for average drivers. They don't happen for solid contributors. They happen when someone inside the sport has decided quietly, privately, that they're watching a generational talent. Someone who changes the math. And that brings us to the part of this story that most coverage is completely missing. Because this isn't just about SVG potentially moving team. This is about what that would mean for Trackhouse Racing. And that's where this story gets genuinely emotional. Think about what Trackhouse Racing actually is. Justin Marks and Pitbull didn't build a conventional NASCAR team. They built a statement, a declaration that this sport could be approached differently. That talent scouting could go global. That innovation wasn't just a word in a press release. SVG wasn't just a driver they signed. He was the proof of concept. He was the living, breathing validation of everything Trackhouse claimed to believe. When SVG won in Chicago on debut, it wasn't just a race result for Trackhouse. It was confirmation that their entire philosophy. So when Hendrick Motorsports starts circling, that's not just a team losing a driver. That's an identity being threatened. Kelly Crandall said it plainly and correctly. Trackhouse absolutely does not want this rumor growing louder heading into silly season. And Jeff Gluck went further with something that should make every Trackhouse fan deeply uncomfortable. Trackhouse may have created a monster. SVG keeps improving on ovals, and that changes the entire conversation. That word, monster, not meant as an insult, meant as the most accurate description of what happens when you develop a driver beyond your own ability to protect him. Because here's the thing about SVG's contract situation. Reports indicate he has signed a multi-year extension with Trackhouse, and that should settle this, right? In any normal sport, a long-term contract is the end of the conversation. But this is NASCAR, and in NASCAR, long-term contracts have never stopped future negotiations from becoming political weapons. Everybody in the garage knows this. The contract buys time. It doesn't buy certainty. And while everyone is focused on SVG, there's a second name that just entered this story. And when you hear it, the whole picture suddenly gets much more complicated. Connor Zilisch. If you haven't been paying close attention to what Trackhouse has been quietly building, let me catch you up fast. Zilisch is young, exceptionally talented, the kind of driver whose name keeps appearing in conversations about the future of the sport. And according to insiders, he is already drawing attention from Chevrolet's development network. Now here's what should make everyone stop. And Trackhouse doesn't just have one potential superstar. They have two. And Hendrick wasn't just watching SVG. According to Garage Intelligence, they were watching the entire Trackhouse talent pipeline. This changes the entire frame of the story. It's not a team possibly losing one driver. It's a team that has built something so genuinely valuable that NASCAR's most powerful organization is studying their roster the way a competitor studies a patent. Trackhouse own captured the moment perfectly. Connor Zilish, SVG, Hendrick rumors, Chevrolet politics. This silly season is going nuclear. And that comment about Chevrolet politics, that opens up the deepest layer of this whole situation. Because once you understand what's really happening at the manufacturer level, this story stops being about drivers and starts being about power. Here's something that doesn't get explained enough in mainstream NASCAR coverage. Manufacturers don't just support teams. They manage ecosystems. They have flagship programs. They have political relationships. And sometimes those relationships create impossible choices. Hendrick Motorsports is Chevrolet's cornerstone in NASCAR. Their relationship is foundational. When Hendrick wins championships, Chevrolet wins championships. Their histories are intertwined. Trackhouse Racing is also a Chevrolet team, also successful, also growing. Now imagine SVG becomes a genuine championship-level threat, not just a road course specialist, a real, complete championship contender. What does Chevrolet do? Chevy racing fans frame the dilemma with brutal clarity. Chevrolet has to decide: protect Trackhouse independence or stack Hendrick's championship machine even harder. There is no third option. Jordan Bianchi confirmed that this tension is real and it has no clean resolution. The Chevrolet politics around SVG could get very interesting. And when insiders who cover this sport say interesting, they mean complicated and potentially destructive. Because what happens to Chevrolet's internal politics if their best performing driver on road courses is at a team they can't fully control? What happens if sponsor money starts following SVG in a direction that changes the balance of power? Speaking of sponsors, this is the part that the garage doesn't talk about publicly, but it's the part that actually determines outcome. In modern NASCAR, sponsors don't just follow teams. They follow drivers. SVG's rise didn't just build a race record. It built a brand, a global brand. The crossover appeal he generates, the international audiences he brings in NASCAR's tent, the visibility he creates for corporate partners is unlike anything the sport has seen from a driver acquisition. And here's the uncomfortable question that nobody wants to answer out loud. What happens when a major corporate partner decides they want SVG inside NASCAR's most recognizable organization? What happens when sponsor money becomes the political argument that makes a contract negotiation irrelevant? In that scenario, it doesn't matter what the paperwork says. Money rewrites paperwork. NASCAR and Fox put it directly. SVG is turning every road course into his personal playground. The garage better start taking this Hendrick speculation serious. Cup Series Hub confirmed what the numbers already showed. SVG brought global attention to NASCAR faster than anyone could have projected. And all of this, every thread of this story, comes back to the moment that the garage is still processing. The moment that changed the temperature permanently. Here's the safety valve that the traditional NASCAR world held onto for as long as it could. Ovals will expose him. That was the escape hatch. That was how the establishment made peace with SVG's road course dominance. Sure, he's great on street courses and road courses. But wait until the ovals. That's where real NASCAR drivers are built. That's where he gets found out. For a while, it worked as a comfort story. Then 2026 happened, and the comfort story collapsed. Reports from inside the garage describe improving oval pace, growing confidence, increasing ease inside the tight, aggressive, traffic-heavy racing that intermediate ovals demand. Dale Earnhardt Jr. saw this coming and said it plainly. If SVG becomes elite on intermediates too, good luck, everybody. Racing Fan T4 put it even more directly. SVG isn't just a road racer anymore, and that is what scares people. Rubbins Racing delivered the warning that is now echoing through every team's strategy. Every week, SVG gains more oval confidence. The rest of the field should be worried. When the oval's safety valve closes, the entire competitive calculation changes. He is no longer a specialist you can plan around. He is no longer a threat you can contain to specific weekend. He becomes a title threat every single week, and that changes everything. The atmosphere inside NASCAR right now around this situation is pure, undiluted paranoia. Every Hendrick camera shot near SVG's hauler gets analyzed like surveillance. Every sponsor interaction gets studied for subtext. Every Chevrolet executive appearance at a Trackhouse event becomes a conspiracy theory with timestamps. Dirty MO Media described it perfectly. Fans are watching every Hendrick and SVG interaction like it's the most important footage in the world. SiriusXM NASCAR offered the measured take. SVG to Hendrick is probably too early to call definitive. But significantly, crucially, nobody is laughing at the theory anymore. That's the real headline. Not whether it happens, but the fact that it went from a joke to a legitimate conversation in less than 3. NASCAR Chasm summarized the whole arc with the most honest sentence written about this situation. Shane van Gisbergen showed up, won immediately, and now the entire garage needs therapy. And through all of it, through the speculation and the noise and the political chess being played around his future, SVG himself has stayed almost entirely quiet publicly. In NASCAR, silence is a choice. That silence is the most interesting detail of this entire story. 2 years ago, the NASCAR garage laughed at the idea of Shane van Gisbergen as a long-term force in this sport. Today, nobody is laughing. The question sitting in front of every fan, every analyst, every team owner, and yes, every Chevrolet executive is the same question that has no comfortable answer. Does Shane van Gisbergen finish his career at Trackhouse? The team that believed in him, the team that brought him to America, the team whose entire identity he validated with every win? Or does the gravitational pull of Hendrick Motorsports, the weight of Chevrolet politics, the momentum of sponsor money, and the inevitability of NASCAR's power structures eventually rewrite the story in a way nobody at Trackhouse wants to imagine? That question doesn't have an answer today, but it will. And when it does, it will reshape this sport. Drop your prediction in the comments right now. I want to know what you think happens. Does SVG stay at Trackhouse and build a championship there? Or does Hendrick eventually make a move nobody can stop? If this video gave you something to think about, here's what I need you to do right now. Subscribe to NASCAR Report today. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update as this story develops. Because this is not the end of this story. This is the beginning. We cover the NASCAR conversations that go deeper than the highlight reel. The political moves, the garage realities, the moments that change this sport before the press releases. The SVG story is going to get louder before it gets quieter. And when the next chapter breaks, you'll want to be here for it. Subscribe. Share this video with one NASCAR fan who needs to see it. And I'll see you in the next one.